Hey, good evening, rock fans. This is Brad.
I'm Amy.
I'm Mikey B.
This is Peoples.
And we are joined by Kiva and Dalton from School of Rock.
Hello.
What's up,
Hey, guys? And I'm going to be the first one to ask, how do we say your last name? Rapattoni?
Correct.
Yes.
First time, nailed it.
Nailed it.
Tell him what he wins.
We also answer to pepperoni though, so that's okay too.
Nice,
I'm
nice.
all about some pepperoni.
Mike-
Jimmy's.
Mike will answer to pepperoni for sure.
Yes.
And,
Jimmy's pepperoni, of course.
and he will steal it from you too.
We've had many pepperoni wars in Deep Dallas Radio studios.
Yes, yes, we
Yeah.
have.
What is a
All
pepperoni?
right.
I feel like I should know what a pepperoni war
Yeah,
is.
I don't.
If you ever go to Jimmy's, where's it at, Mikey?
I actually have a. If you'll wait a second, I'll go grab the jar.
Grab some.
Oh, pepperoni.
It's at Brian and Fitzhugh.
Oh, the Jimmy's store, the little Italian.
Yes, yeah. I
Yeah.
think I've seen it on the news a couple of times. They go buy just straight pepperoni.
Yep.
And
Well,
we
it's
try
really
to,
nice.
Containers
really-
of pepperoni.
yeah.
Well, it's really nice. You walk in, you get your glass of wine, you go order your sandwich, and then you shop. And it's
Well,
you
they
know,
currently don't have hot sandwiches because of COVID.
yeah,
They haven't brought those back yet. They have cold sandwiches right now.
pepperoni.
So how does one
Oh, I see.
commit war with
That's how you do pepperoni.
You pass it under the table while other people are talking and doing the interview. That's how that came about.
And we keep it away from Mikey.
Not
Yeah.
while people are doing the interview. While Brad is continuing the interview, and the rest of us are
Yeah,
eating
they're under the
pepperoni.
table eating pepperoni.
Which we could get away with that back when we were just
Just
on
radio. Yeah.
Yeah. Not
Now
as
I'm
easy
like-
to get away with it now that we're a video stream.
Now maybe we can get that Jimmy's promo that we've been wanting to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You might as
absolutely.
well get paid for it if you're gonna be
Exactly. Gonna promote it.
Hey, me and pepperoni. I'm good to go.
Yeah, yeah. You got you a shiner in your Jimmy's pepperoni. Mike's happy.
Life's good.
Oh man. So first of all, thank you guys for making the time to talk to us tonight. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for
And,
having us.
we kind of want to talk to you about what's going on, what's been going on, and obviously with summer right around the corner, get an understanding of what's happening at School of Rock, how people can help, how people can get involved. One of the questions I always want to ask is, do what? What'd you say, Amy?
I said, enroll your children. That
I would help.
helpful.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot.
Send kids.
Yes.
I think I know the answer to this, but I want to hear it from somebody in the know. How did the School of Rock get started?
You want to take that or I'll take that?
Well, so you go ahead.
Well, I mean, so there's a guy named Paul Green, and he's the one that started the company. And I don't like the,
1998.
in 1998. See, you know the dates. You should do this because I know like the vibe of the story more than the details.
I'll
Details.
truth.
Okay.
If you go off track.
Okay, so this is my general understanding of how this happened in Philadelphia, right?
Yes. That's
Okay.
accurate.
In Philadelphia, Paul Green was like, "Hey, I want to teach kids how to do rock music." There,
Yeah.
and he actually started he started with The Wall, and he signed a bunch of kids up, and they did a showing of Pink Floyd's The Wall in its entirety. And that's kind of how the program got it started. It was like, hey, I want to teach kids how to play music, and I want to use rock music as a medium to teach them musical concepts and make them musicians, right? Because kids, when you just like throw in a bunch of theory and stuff at them, it's pretty boring, right? But if you use AC/DC to kind of sneak that in there, then suddenly they're a lot more receptive to that kind of a thing. So yeah, that kind of spawned the company itself, and now we have a bazillion locations. I don't know how many we have.
do. There are a ton of locations now. So we actually, I don't even know the final count on how many countries School of Rock is in now.
Oh, wow.
But I just recently heard they opened in they opened in Spain, signed a deal in Singapore, and just signed an agreement in South Africa here recently. So
Wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
absolutely the fastest growing music school in the entire world.
That is awesome. So
Very incredible.
We've been
My
in the
first-
Dallas area since
Yeah.
about 12 or 13 years now. The Dallas location was the first in the market.
Yep.
Dalton was the 13th student enrolled at
Correct.
the Dallas school.
And how old were you at the time, Dalton?
I was like 11,
12.
12,
maybe.
12, yeah. And I, in the video, the first song that I ever played was The Thin Ice, because we did, it's tradition to do the wall when you open, because the first school opened with that. And the first song I ever did was The Thin Ice. And my legs are visibly shaking as I'm trying to play through that song. I'm horrified. But, I wouldn't be a musician if not for that. So I'm just saying.
That's awesome. So I'm going to have to bring it up. The School of Rock movie came about based off what was already in place
Yes.
at the time.
Absolutely. The School of Rock,
Okay.
the school was first. And it actually drew the attention of Hollywood and LA out there, because they came out to do a documentary on Paul Green, who was the founder of the school. That documentary is still out there. But not long after that, there was a screenplay written that was inspired by the idea of a music
Of the
school.
school.
Somebody who's a little bit rough around the edges running, teaching kids music, which is kind of Paul Green.
Yeah. A little bit more shoot from your hip times
Yeah, a little bit.
back in the day. Yeah.
So how did you, Kiva, get involved?
Well, we just believe so fiercely in this program, because I had two kids come up in the program, and after it really changed their life and put them on a completely different trajectory than we had ever imagined for them, we realized how valuable a program like this is for young kids and teenagers, to have an environment. Not everything is, not every student finds their place in the sports world, playing football or baseball or soccer, or they may not be great at academics, and maybe the clubs at their school don't offer something that they find interesting that pulls them in. But we kind of see ourselves a little bit as the island of misfit toys, which is pretty much what my kids were. I mean, they really couldn't find their space. And when my kids walked in, they immediately just felt like they found their tribe. And it was huge for them. So my husband and I invested in the Dallas market years ago, and we just haven't looked back. After my kids were grown and pretty much out of the house for the most part, I decided, I'd been home all this time, so I took over school, and here we are.
That's awesome. So you were actually a customer first.
Exactly. For about 5 years, I was a customer.
Okay.
And I think that kind of helps me, because
Yeah.
I rode that couch in the lobby for a long time. And I decided that when I went into that role, I was going to run our schools the way I always wanted to be treated as a client.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we do.
Nice.
That's cool. Because I remember the first time I met you at the Dallas store, I walked in not knowing what to expect. And I think they were playing AC/DC. You had the band back over there on the right in the little cafeteria area where you had your stage. And my buddy and I looked at each other and we're like, hold up. That sounds legit. And that was just so cool. I mean, I was hooked from that. I'm like, okay, this is very impressive and very important to expose and get these kids plugged into a place, like you said, where they can find their tribe. So that's just awesome.
It's really, really important. And, we always say we're not a one size fits all. We're not for everybody. But when we have a kid walk through our door that we know needs to be there, it's magic. There's almost like a little aura around that student. They're like,
Yeah,
So
you can
it's
tell
fun.
they're home. Yeah. So what kind of instruments do you guys teach or train at the school?
We teach formally, we teach guitar, bass, drums, keys, and vocals. Those are the ones that we offer at every school. If we have a teacher that happens to be able to do a different instrument, strings, like violins, cellos, and stuff,
mandolin, banjo.
mandolin,
Or anything?
things. Those are kind of bonuses if we can find someone who can do that.
Off
Yeah.
menu.
Yeah, they're off menu items. You get,
It's the secret menu.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to ask.
yeah, at every
I
school
want an
we
animal style.
Right.
yeah. At every school we offer drums, keys, vocals, guitar, and bass.
That's awesome. And you guys always have different programs. I know. I guess you had like an end of a school year. Does it always happen when kids are in school, or is it
We are
year round? Year round. Okay.
We are just, this week is the last week of our spring season. Then we're taking a week off. We take care of all the maintenance and stuff that needs to be taken care of at our school, because try to imagine
Oh,
the shape
yeah.
of our year sometimes after 4 months of littles hitting drums as hard as they can.
It
and
breaks your
Yeah.
heart.
yanking their aux cords out of, the wall
Oh,
as hard as they can from across the room. So we have to repair a bunch of stuff, take care of a bunch of stuff. We put our teachers through some additional training, and then we get ready to do it all over again. So we do 3 separate seasons a year. So our
Okay.
next one starts June, first week of June.
and that's the summer program that kicks off.
Summer program.
Is that an all-day type program, or kids can come in at different times throughout the day? How does that work?
We have 2 different programs that we run in the summer. We have our summer camps, which I don't know the times, but that's a
9 to 3 summer.
9 to 3
Okay.
are our summer camps. And those are for 1 week, and we do them pretty much every week of the summer,
Depending on the
depending
school.
on the school. And that's our day camp kind of a program. And then we still run our performance programs, which we run all year, which are 2 hours. The kids show up and they rehearse songs from a given genre or a given band with the other kids in their show. So that, like AC/DC one, that was a performance program that you heard. And so they were focusing on AC/DC that season.
Yeah.
And we do different bands and different genres every season. And they rehearse for 2 hours every week, and they have a one-on-one lesson with their teacher once a week as well. And we run that year-round.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So as far as upcoming events, at the end of each one of these seasons, do you have the big, everybody performs? Because there were times when I know you guys were bringing groups of kids to Curtain Club or the Blue Light, some of these other places. How does that tie in with the different times or different programs?
So we do 2 performances a season in our local schools here in the Dallas area. We do 1 little mini show, which is about halfway. And one of the reasons that mid-season show is so important right now, we kind of look at it a little bit like a dress rehearsal. So many kids right now in our society really struggle with anxiety, and they're just super worried about stuff, So that mid-season allows us to just do a little short mini set, like a dress rehearsal, just to get our kids up on stage so that they realize it's no pressure. It's all fun. You're just standing up there with your bandmates, having a good time, playing what you know how to do, because we've been working on it for a couple months.
Yeah.
A super supportive audience, and then they realize, oh, that wasn't hard. That was really awesome. That was super fun. And then we can kind of buckle down and get the rest of our work done for our end of season show, which is our full set. And that's where we would see you guys a lot of times out at the Curtain Club or Blue Light,
Gotcha.
Tree, some of those cool places.
Yeah. So I know COVID, obviously, but have you guys made any arrangements or plans for an upcoming program or an upcoming show?
We did not let COVID stop us a whole lot.
Good.
We had our corporate office really handled the COVID explosion really well. They within a week, they had us to where we never missed a beat. We went from doing in person, everything was in person. We'd never done anything online, and in less than a week, our entire company all over the world was set up to do one-on-one private lessons, and in some case rehearsals online as best we could. And we had like a couple kids that had to get makeups during the transitions, but we only missed a day or 2 of our entire program, and we were right back at it.
It was literally only like 3 days.
Yeah,
that
it was
we did,
crazy.
yeah.
And we reopened slowly over the summer, schools had, or different schools came back at different times depending on their immediate communities. But we're fully open. We've been fully open for quite some time now. We still offer some remote lessons for families, that would prefer that. And it's also just super convenient now to do a remote lesson if you're running late and you can't get there on time. You can just call us, and instead of being late to your lesson, you can just do it online. So that's really great. Something good.
Open up another avenue for you.
Yep.
Okay. Mike, Amy, Peoples, I've been talking for 15 minutes.
It's been nice.
This is normally where we take a break and go get another beer. So why don't you guys take it for a second?
I've been to a couple of shows at Curtain Club, and I'm just baffled at the talent at such a young age of these kids that you guys teach. And it's, being someone that, that was definitely not around when I was a kid. We had to get grounded to stay inside to practice our guitar.
Yeah.
Or otherwise we were out, riding our bikes and, just raising a ruckus around the neighborhood. But, around late middle school, early high school is when a lot of kids kind of come into, that's where I came into the love of playing music and finding that I could sing, and that kind of stuff. And for there to be an actual place to go and be taught that is a phenomenal thing, and a lot of people don't know that School of Rock is a real thing, not just a movie.
Yeah. We get that all the time. Yeah. It's funny because I think about this a lot, how, some of our best players, because we have a program called our house band. And so it takes the top 5% of kids that go to our schools and our performance programs. And we do a free program with them to try to kind of prepare them for what life might be like in the music industry when they graduate. And a lot of those kids, I hear a common thing is that they have trouble in school. And that always bothered me because it's like their teachers probably think they're not very smart, but they are brilliant and they're gifted. And it's amazing how quickly kids can learn if they're doing something they want to do. And some
learn differently.
And that was definitely me and my friends. Yeah, some of us were athletic. We did play sports, but once we found the music outlet, we stopped doing that and went to the music, and we did that every day, all day. We watched concerts on VHS that we could buy. We found bootleg stuff at Bill's Records and Tapes that we could, that nobody else could hear, and we tried to mimic that on our home instruments. And so and I think that's where the best music comes from is spirit, trying to experiment on your own and doing different things. But then when, you guys give somebody an outlet to do that with other like-minded people, it really will bring out that little seed in a person that can blossom, along with other students.
It's so interesting because Dalton had mentioned, how kids kind of learn a little bit differently, and there are these brilliant children in school that may not just be learning the way they need to necessarily. We recently came out, School of Rock, with a brand new patented curriculum because previously we had always pretty much been teaching. We teach to the song because that's what kids want to do, right? They don't want to sit and theory to learn to play music. They want to actually play music instead of learning all the components that go into it in the beginning.
Yep.
We actually teach to the song in our lessons. And for the longest time, we only taught to ear, right? But now we've incorporated a really great curriculum that we have a written book that has 5 levels within each instrument we teach. And then an app that accompanies that where our students can practice online, and our teachers can literally assign exercises for the kids to work on in their free time at home. And then the app grades them. And then when they send the homework back to their teachers through the app, the teachers can see what they need to work on so that we don't use a scattershot method in our lessons. It's a lot more fine-tuned so we can figure out exactly where the student needs to work. And it's so great because we can meet our students wherever they are instead of saying, this is how we teach, this is how you learn. We can figure out the best way to teach our students to make them successful by using a lot of different methods to do that, which is super, super great.
And I wanted to jump off of what you said actually about going to like record stores and like listening to, you know, like tapes and things like that. Because one of the things that we do is we kind of take that idea of just studying, you know, all this like material from, you know, the rock stars of the past. And we basically guide the kids through what you guys did on your own. Where it's like, I remember the other day, because we were working on a glam rock show, and I was in a lesson with a vocalist, and I was like, we watched the live video for Personality Crisis by the New York Dolls. And I was like, you see the angle of the leg when they pick it up like that, right? It's about 90 degrees. You have to get about right there. And we basically do, you know, it's funny because it was one of those moments where I was like, I cannot believe that this is my job, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean,
That's awesome.
Yeah, we essentially just like try to guide kids through something where they would have had to figure it out on their own.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what the books do too. It's just like a structured way of figuring out how to do the whole rock and roll thing.
So what ages do you guys normally start out? I think you graduate them out at what, 18?
18.
I saw some photos or video on the website where they're like little kids playing drums with pool noodles. How early do you guys start them out with?
I'm not familiar with that.
I'll send you the picture. It's on the website.
I think there was a School of Rock challenge going around that was your instrument in the most wrong possible way or something like that. So
Yeah,
it's just
rules.
a fun challenge. We had kids playing the keyboard with their head, you know. It was just a really
That's
challenge.
wrong.
But we
That
actually,
was, yeah,
Right?
we actually
Pretty punk
taught
rock.
our students
I play with my feet.
at some locations as young as 3 with a class called Little Wing after the Jimi
I
Hendrix.
love that. Yeah.
But at some of our other locations, we don't start them until around age 5 with a group music class called Rookies. And then once we turn 7 or 8, depending on the location, that's when we generally put them into private lessons and band rehearsals with their peers. So I'm telling you, it's the cutest thing you've ever seen in your entire life to see a stage full of 7-year-olds playing punk rock music.
It's pretty cute. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of shows.
Some
It's
of them
really
do
cool
get
too. How
pretty good, too.
it's really cool too how the shows that I've seen, how it you don't really stop. It's not, if it's a 3-hour show or whatever. I don't remember how long the show is, but usually it's not like you stop in between bands. It's like the kids just switch out constantly through everything that's going on.
Having tear down equipment, they just run them through there. Yep.
And you know, that's what something we're constantly trying to teach them. Things like, you know, transitions on the stage, you know, go, 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 move, move, be ready, you know, things like that.
Because that's what they're going to have to deal with for sure.
That's a fact.
You
don't get any roadies until later.
Yes.
Well, that's one of the things that we work on with the performance programs. We talk to them about like, okay, what key is this song in, and what other songs are in this key or similar keys that are in our set, so we can kind of transition through there. And that's another avenue that we kind of use to teach, you know, theory and things like that, is practicality in presenting a rock show to people. And so that's one of the things that, like, it's very easy for most music programs to you know, kind of glance over and kind of skip, is how are you going to present this to people, right? And the show is, I would say, the most important part of what we do is presenting that and getting the kids out in front of people, because that's what they'll be doing in the real world if they want to do this.
Well,
right?
and that's something that they don't teach you, and I speak from experience from being in band and all that stuff in school and having private lessons. They don't teach you what to do when you're on stage, like, yes, how to play, all that stuff, but it's not the performance. They might talk about it, but it's not like it's part of the curriculum. So it's cool to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I have vocal lessons where we'll work on stage banter the entire time. right? Because that's just as important once you're in a band.
Yep.
Mhm.
Oh, it's super important.
We tell them, whatever you do, do not say, "How y'all doing tonight?"
Oh my god! Loud enough, I can't hear you.
Why aren't you up at the front of the stage?
Yeah.
Let's get this pit started.
Wall of death.
You're
Wall
not
of death.
loud enough.
Yeah. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Definitely. We have things that are like, this is against the rules. Do not say this. Say something different.
Hey, is one of those rules you can't wear your own band's shirt on stage?
Right?
You know what? I've started to kind of come around on that because the guys
Oh, here we go.
did that, and I thought that was kind of funny.
Who
You
did
guys
it?
that did it?
So
They
do you
did,
think
yeah.
it's okay if it's you're in on the joke kind of thing?
I
Is that
think
what you're saying?
because the whole thing was like we can't afford anything, and then
With our own merch.
that makes sense.
All my stuff is just completely dirty. I'm just gonna start wearing our own merch.
Yeah.
You're on the road. You've got boxes and boxes of Anthrax
It's-
t-shirts.
yeah.
Amazing.
Exactly.
We've got an inappropriate picture from Bobby Finn down there at the bottom.
Oh, no.
saying
Oh
he
Lord,
loves
he's
some
in the hot
Dalton.
tub.
Oh god.
What's up, Bobby?
But yeah, we I forget what was my train of thought.
Bobby will do that.
Bobby will do that to you every time.
Yeah, he can definitely throw you off your game.
That guy. He will do that at a live show too.
Right.
Now we
Oh.
were talking about teaching, though. I definitely wanted to put this out there while we have you guys nice enough to have us on here. Is that I know that you guys have so many musicians in the area that you guys know and that you're friends with. School of Rock is the largest employer of musicians in the entire world. We hire. I mean, all of our teachers are working musicians, and it is the greatest part-time job in the world because you can work as little as you want to. You can call us and say, I can work on Tuesdays from 5 to 8, and we will book you some lessons in the instrument of your choice, and you can just work with us for a couple of hours every week, make a little money, keep your skills sharp. Or if you want to work more than that, we can book you more than that. But
That's super rad.
it's super
That
great
is.
because our students get the benefit of working with real local musicians that are out there doing it right now, and that's massive knowledge to pass on.
Yeah, and also like if you have to bail out for 2 weeks to do a tour, sick.
We
Go
love
do
that.
that.
Yeah,
That's
go
awesome.
do that. Well,
Yeah.
you'll be here when you get back.
Yeah.
You'll want to hear the stories when you get back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the kids probably love that too.
Dude, yeah, they do. I mean, it's like it's so cool, like to be able to say, like, "Hey, we're gonna have to reschedule your lesson because your teacher is on tour in Bermuda or whatever." Now that's a good thing to be able to say to a parent.
They're going to go tell everybody that. Yeah.
Yeah.
My teacher's actually,
Yeah, I'm supposed to be in school right now, but
yeah.
My teacher's on tour, so.
Right.
So it's
you know how it goes, man. Well, that was one of the questions, Kiva, I was going to ask toward the end is how people can help you guys. Do y'all, other than, getting musicians plugged in there to help teach and train and tutor the kids, how are other ways that people can help you guys?
Honestly, teachers coming in and wanting to work with us, and maybe any of the local groups that maybe do sound and audio and things like that might want to come in and do some workshops or something with our students. That's always a super appreciated thing to be able to, if you have expertise in the music industry and you want to, spend an hour or two with our students at the school doing a workshop, we would absolutely love to do something like that. If you know students in the area that could benefit from our program, spread the word, send them our way. And, occasionally we get some kiddos that can't do our program. So we'd love to start a situation where somebody could sponsor a student in need from time to time in our program. That would be absolutely amazing, because I've literally had to turn a few students away that actually broke my heart, because the school just didn't have the enrollment to support a student who couldn't pay for the services at the time. We just didn't have a big enough enrollment, and it kills me. It absolutely kills me to have to do that.
Are they providing their own instruments, or are you guys able to provide if they don't have it? So
we have school instruments that
Okay.
we can use, but we only have like one or two, and they kind of suck. So if you're like just starting out,
In fairness, they didn't start out sucking. They
No, they
sucked
do it
because
great.
right, yeah, they got that way through hard
Yeah.
work. Yeah,
no, we try our best to keep up with them. But a bunch of 9-year-olds playing a Strat, it doesn't play like a Strat after a while. So, we do our best. Anyways, but typically, like, we use our school instruments for kids who are like not 100% sure what they want to do yet. And then, once they kind of start getting into a groove, like, oh yeah, I really like guitar, then we'd be like, the parent would typically ask us like, what kind of guitar should we get them? And then we give our input, based on that.
All Paul Reed Smiths. I'll let you.
we always tell our parents that come in that we don't recommend that they rush out and purchase an expensive instrument for a student that's just getting started, because they could come in and take a drum lesson or two and go, I think I'll
change your mind.
No. But we also tell them that really they're not going to show a lot of progress until they can practice at home, And, we're grateful because we do get instruments that are donated to us from time to time. Mr. Amos did that for us. He brought us a couple guitars, and it was a huge help. And we actually, Bradley, I don't know if I followed up to tell you this, but we actually took that electric guitar that you shared with us. I believe it was black, and I can't remember the make of it now. And we actually re-gifted that out to a student that couldn't afford a guitar. So that was
That's
huge.
awesome.
Oh,
All
That's
right,
what I
Brad,
was
good
hoping
job.
for.
Nice.
That's awesome. Glad to hear that.
That's very cool.
So I'm gonna. I was gonna hit on Dalton, but go ahead, Amy. Go ahead.
well, because we
I wasn't gonna hit on him. Let me rephrase that.
Why is it?
Damn it! Like Bobby didn't make it weird enough.
We had talked about that y'all used to the shows over at Curtain Club, and then once Curtain Club closed, y'all moved over to Blue Light. Do y'all have a new venue yet, or are y'all still kind of shopping around?
I'm not at the Dallas location anymore. I'm up in the burbs in McKinney now. Dalton is in Rockwall. We both left Dallas at the beginning of this year. So we generally will play out in the suburbs right now, unless we do this big event in the spring where all of our local School of Rock schools in the DFW area come together in the spring and do a huge music festival. That has historically been done down in Deep Ellum, but we haven't been able to do it for the past 2 years because of COVID. So we're really hoping to get back to that. We'll have to reevaluate which clubs are still open down there, but we've had a lot of support from so many of the clubs and the venues down in that area, and I was absolutely crushed when Curtain Club closed, because that was the Dallas
as we all are
home venue. They were so great for us. And then Blue Light hosted us, and they were wonderful, but they closed up shop.
that was short-lived, unfortunately.
Well, maybe we could talk to Clint at Trees or something. That'd be a great spot for you guys.
We've played at things a couple times. Clint has
I
had
thought y'all had, yeah. Awesome. So I want to talk to Dalton a little bit.
You're allowed to hit on him now.
Now that I can get my words out correctly. So we have a video, Mikey. I didn't know if you wanted to share that or not.
Oh no!
It's not the one from Bobby Finn. I don't know if he sent that to us yet. He says he has one of you pre-American Idol.
Oh god!
I don't. You're in luck because I don't have the video. He's actually.
Oh, do you not?
He's
Oh,
yanking
good,
your
good.
chain unless he sent it to me and I
I
didn't.
sent it to you earlier today in the message.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can work on that later on. We'll see. We'll see what I can pull up.
So yeah, it sounds like Bobby's got the really good stuff. You'll have to talk to him on that. Kiva, you mentioned you got a wedding coming up. Is that Dalton's?
It is not Dalton.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say you're gonna have to get that plugged in there somehow during the rehearsal dinner or something.
No, it is not Dalton's. It is my oldest daughter's wedding. And you just had a wedding too with your daughter.
Yeah, it's been about 6 weeks now, and
Yeah.
it's great when it's over. I'll tell you that. It is great when it's over. So Dalton, let's talk about your music career a little bit.
Okay.
And was it season 15 that you appeared on American? How old were you at that point?
20. I turned 20 during filming.
Okay. And so you had been out of School of Rock for a couple of years. Did you stay with School of Rock through the age 18?
I actually was one of the people who left the nest a little bit early. I got a job out in LA, which is one of the sources of a couple of videos that I'm not super stoked on.
We might have.
I got a job in a boy band, which taught me a lot about the industry and how to put on a good show. And I actually learned how to dance, which I never do anymore. But that was when I was like 16, I believe, was when that was at its biggest, the most present in my life. And I did that for a while, and then I when I was about 18, I went back. And I was like, I'm too old to be in a boy band. I am an adult now. And then
If you only knew.
So I do think I have that pulled up a little bit. We can check it out. Hang on.
We want to check that out.
Oh God.
Dude, you're standing in front of J-Lo.
The voice which calls to me and speaks my name.
Is that Harry Connick? Yeah.
I dream again, for now I find the Phantom of the Opera is there inside your mind. Sing once again with me a strange duet.
I did not look up one time. I'm
You're
sorry.
nervous.
I have on my guitars now. I far look up on this side of them.
So when you see it, you know you're looking down too long.
Phantom of the Opera is there inside your mind. The leaves are brown.
Oh no!
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
That's
that was
probably enough.
We tortured him enough.
There's many more if people want to check it out.
Right?
God.
Wow. So what made you pick Phantom of the Opera as your song?
Okay, so the way that used to work, the audition process. So everybody gives people a lot of crap because a lot of people do House of the Rising Sun for their audition song.
Yeah.
And the reason why, like, you see these songs that like occur over and over and over again on that show is because there's like a preset list of songs they already have licenses for, and for your audition, you can only pick from that list. And of the songs that were on that list, Phantom of the Opera was the only song that I knew that I hadn't seen anyone else do before. And so that was my reasoning for picking that. Because I didn't want them to be able to mentally compare me to other people who might be better. And so I was like, I'm gonna do one that I haven't seen, but I don't know anything other than Phantom of the Opera on here. And
how long did it take you to arrange it on guitar? I mean, how much time did you have to prepare that?
I had a capo, so not long. I looked up the chords on Ultimate Guitar and I kind of just capoed it up until it sounded good.
Oh, that's so cool. So how is it different than what you see on TV? Because I didn't even know I didn't even think about licensing until you even said that, but that makes perfect sense. So
there's lots of ways, there's lots of things that I just didn't think about that now that like I went through it, I was like, okay, that makes sense that this has to happen. But it's a lot more being awake than you would think. Because it's, for Hollywood Week, they try to make you want to quit, essentially. And so you'll be up from 5 a.m. to midnight every day that week. And honestly, that kind of continues all the way through the show.
But then at midnight, when you go back to your room, you have to work on what you're going to perform.
Yeah, for the next day, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of that, and then it's a lot of waiting in hotel conference rooms to sing. And I think that like one of the things that people don't really, I think, process, or at least I didn't, is how much it really is, how much work it really is for the people that are doing it. Because like you only see it for an hour, you know, but that hour is the culmination of like everyone being up for, 19 hours a day all week. And yeah, it sucks because like I was one of the people who was fortunate enough that all of my performances were aired. But there's people who make it to like the top 24 and you don't see them until like they get eliminated in that top 24. And that sucks. Yeah. And there's just lots of the producers have a little bit more of a presence in the beginning of the show than a lot of people think. But it's the same as like if there was just more judges, right? You audition in front of producers first before you do the
before you go in front of the panel, or
yeah. And then it opens up a lot. It's honestly a lot more. It gets more similar to how you would think it would be the further you get in the show, because once we got to, I think it was top 15 or something like that, they started to be like, hey, what song do you want to do? And they would actually ask the people who own that song for licenses and stuff. And that's when you actually get to be, creative with your song choices and things like that. But yeah.
Unless you're assigned a song.
Unless you're assigned a song, which does happen. And sometimes you're assigned a song that's not good. And that sucks.
Who assigns the songs if you're not able to select? Is it
producers do. If it's like a theme week, they'll let you pick from like a list.
Yeah.
So like when we did like a Sia theme week, and I only knew Chandelier, and I knew that I couldn't sing that one. So I just read the lyrics of all the songs and then picked based off of the lyrics that I liked the most, and just prayed that I would be able to sing it. Because everybody was like, once someone picked a song, so I was like, oh God, this one. And I didn't have time to listen to all of them. But it's, I say a lot is like, it's the worst fun that I ever had. Because it was like a great time, the further I get from it. But it was really, really hard, when we were doing that.
So how has your life changed since then?
There was like, it afforded me the ability to tour for 2 or 3 years after the show. And I was able to kind of like see like if I liked the life of a touring musician. And I didn't,
As it turns
I did
out,
not. Yeah.
you did not.
And I was like, thank God that I got the opportunity to do that, because I probably would have like kept going forever and just been like chasing something and then realized that I hated it when I was older. But I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of having a good time. I kind of want to, I don't know, go home.
Sleep in my own bed.
Right?
Yeah, that would be great. To be able to sleep in staying still and not going 60 miles an hour down a highway. But yeah, I mean, it allowed me to do that, and it allowed me to record an album. And, I got to, I did one tour in particular that I really, really liked, where I got to go around to all the different School of Rocks across America and, meet the kids. And I got to play a show with the house bands, that program that we were talking about, where it's like the
top tier. Yeah.
Yeah, the top tier kids. And I got to meet them and hang out with them. And that was a really, really fun one. But yeah, it kind of let me see if I wanted to be a, touring musician for my life.
Yeah.
That was a great thing that Dalton did get to do, because we had so much support when he was on Idol from all of the School of Rocks all over the world. And they were so awesome to come together and promote Dalton's experience on the show and get all their families to vote. And, he went pretty far, and he went just as far as he probably wanted to go, I think, on the show.
So much further than I thought I would.
He called that tour the School of Rocks Gives Back tour, and he went around to a bunch of School of Rocks and did these shows, and It
And
was good.
it was amazing how many of those kids were better than me.
It's cool though, because you're kind of this ambassador to carry the torch to say, look where this program can take you. Look at the opportunities and avenues. Yeah.
And that's kind of something that like when I was a student, that kind of didn't exist yet, because everybody was like, this program is awesome, but it was still at that point kind of up in the air, like how where you could go from here, like how much does this education, how far can this actually take you? And I was able to do all of that stuff with American Idol. We've had a bunch of alumni that have had successful bands, and we've had a lot of successful alumni over the years, and thankfully that's kind of proven like, okay, so this is like an education that you can use in the real world, and it's not just like some place to go for funsies after school, even though it is that.
It is.
Yeah, but this can also
put you on a career path
that you need. Yeah.
So you mentioned alumni. I know we're friends with some folks, and we may have been talking about this off air before we even started the show, but just some of the folks that we've met, Sydney Hart, Peyton Taylor, Sammy, I think Kiva, you mentioned Dollskin.
I think Sydney's mom is watching. I think I
saw her come in.
Yeah,
Asking if Bob was going to be at a show. Yeah, Pamela's on.
Pam said Pam threatened to kill me the other day. Yeah.
What did you do?
It was great. I was being a jerk. But we've had a lot of great alumni come out.
And I fully believe like these kids are going to start coming out of the woodwork and showing up in the music industry all over the place. You're going to see more and more and more of them as the program continues to get older, because remember, Dalton was one of the first students in the area here in Dallas.
Yeah.
So all these kids that are younger than him are just coming out and starting to make their mark.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you been graduating classes? Has it been, you said Dalton was one of the first ones. So what was that, 7, 8 years ago?
No, it was like 12.
Was it 12? Okay.
When the Dallas school opened.
Okay.
We started, it was funny because we didn't, like, when the Dallas school opened, we didn't have that many kids. So I was like 101 age, technically, because I was 12. I would have been an older Rock 101 kid. But they were like, no, we don't have a singer for the show, so we need you to be in this show.
Oh, guess what?
Yeah, so you're going to be playing in the big kid show.
And we didn't take him for singing. We dropped him off for guitar.
It's true.
So we were quite surprised.
And you picked him up and he was a singer.
We're like,
And that's why you don't buy instruments before they've gone to the school.
Right.
for a little
I
bit.
did also learn how to play guitar, but it was funny because I was in a guitar lesson and I was singing along to one of my songs, and my teacher was just like, guess what you're doing now, stupid, because you chose to sing and we don't have a singer, so gotcha. But,
You've been selected.
yeah, you've been voluntold that you have to be a singer now. So,
All right. So you mentioned the CD. Is that something we can go find on iTunes?
yeah, it's not a rock CD. I did because I had been doing pop stuff for a really long time, and that was kind of like the lens that I was kind of writing through at that time. But it's called Nobody's Home, and it's on Spotify and iTunes and stuff. But yeah, I made it with Matt Nevesky, the bassist for Blue October, out in Orb Studios in Austin. And those are a bunch of really cool guys.
did you include
Cool.
Justin?
Oh yeah, and I wrote one of the songs on there. I wrote with Justin, the singer.
Furstenfeld.
Blue October. Yeah.
Very
Wow.
nice. Very nice.
He's definitely up there.
Yeah.
So again, guys, I've been taking over and just talking. This is kind of this is where I need to step back for a second. I don't have any more beer, but at least somebody else
Well,
conversation for me.
It's definitely great to hear, all the, success and the real part of it. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. There's actually work to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not real enticing when you're starting people out. So it sounds like you got the right idea, getting the kids started on some music that they like and getting them something underneath them before they start diving into the work part of it. So
Mm-hmm.
cool.
And I really admire the approach that you guys mentioned, actually starting them off on a song. Like, let's get them plugged in and immediately playing a song. And that can, for me, that would have gotten me hooked right away. I'm like, oh my God, I'm playing AC/DC, instead of trying to learn chords or whatever. And that's a really cool approach, especially for younger kids, I would think.
Mhm.
Yeah, we try to sneak theory in when they're not looking.
I'm sure too. Once they get to a certain point, they want more
They
theory.
do.
and stuff.
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
And our older kids, like, especially recently, because kind of like math rock has become like a big thing on like Instagram and TikTok and stuff. And that requires a lot of like theoretical understanding to be able to play that kind of thing and write that kind of thing. And so once kids turn like 16, 17, they start to ask those questions themselves. So we like a lot of the times don't have to even try to introduce that. Sometimes
are they in an environment where they really kind of feed off of each other? Is it competitive in the environment? I know when I was growing up playing, starting in guitar, that was the thing, is all, I had a big group of friends and we all played guitar, and it was like, oh, I learned this song this week. And then the next day he was like, I learned this one. And it was just, back and forth, and became kind of competitive, which.
Yeah, we try to keep it like, supportively competitive, I would say. There's, but there is like a, kids do try to be like, oh yeah, well, it's, because we always say it's not about how many songs that you're on, but the kids do keep count.
Absolutely.
There's a friendly competition that goes along with it.
Yeah,
I'm sure that I mean, especially when you see like 2 7-year-olds going at it, like.
And honestly, those are the ones that we had to be like, all right, cool, chill out, guys. 'Cause, well, I learned this, and you didn't learn this yet. And they'll sometimes
There's no crying in rock and roll.
Yeah,
There's more than you would think.
She did say they start them around 3 to 5. So
no, they used to call my lesson room they used to call my lesson room the crying parlor.
That's when I knew I wasn't a
Students
teacher.
would go in cry.
And Mike, is that not why you don't volunteer? You can't handle crying kids? Or you would make them cry?
I made my own son cry the first lesson I gave him. So
that's so common though, because we have so many musicians that bring their kids in and they're like, I tried to teach them, but they won't listen to me. And I'm like, that it happens all the time. We actually, when I was at the Dallas school, we had 2 Juilliard trained musicians, a mom who played the violin at the Dallas Opera, and the dad who plays trumpet for the Dallas Symphony. They have 3 kids, cannot teach them themselves because the kids don't listen. They won't listen to their parents. So all 3 of their kids are enrolled. And it's
Yeah, I mean that's what I eventually did too, and then told my son is like, I think it's better if somebody else shows you this stuff. at least in the beginning.
And here you would have had a place to take it.
And Bobby, you can't say keep it fun and have that background picture. It's a little creepy.
Oh, Bobby Finn in his hot tub. I feel like that ought to be a Saturday Night Live skit or something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You see the one where he's out on his front lawn talking to the police officer, and he's wearing his like bikini or whatever.
Yes. Oh, gotta love some Bobby Finn.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Any other things we can do to help you guys, promote you guys, get the word out?
Yeah, where's a good place? Is the website a good place for people to check out?
Absolutely. If you go to schoolofrock.com, it will literally pull up the closest schools to you based on your location.
Okay.
And we do free trials. So there's absolutely no way to go wrong. You can bring your child. You can bring yourself up. We have a super strong adult program. We run our adult program the exact same way that we run our program with our kiddos. It's still an educational program, especially for those frustrated musicians that had to grow up and get real jobs and are just at a place now where they can finally take the time to kind of get back to something that they used to love and play with other people. And you can call us up. We'll give you a free trial lesson and the instrument of your choice. We'll tell you all about our program, and you can decide if it's what you're looking for.
Very cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, the website looks really great.
Mm-hmm.
It's very intuitive, so people should definitely check that out.
I saw that. Was that a huge list of schools in Sao Paulo?
Yes, it
Oh,
was.
it's huge in
Yeah,
South
Brazil.
America.
Yeah.
Dude.
Huge.
Yeah, I think isn't that the biggest school? One of the Brazilian schools.
I'm not sure.
Those
Okay.
kids, wild. So when I was on that, so I chaperoned a senior tour a couple years ago, and one of the dates we met up at where were we? Summerfest, and some of the Brazilian kids were there, and those kids were running around, and they crushed. They absolutely
Oh,
crushed.
you mean on stage?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Running around crushing it.
Yeah,
on
not in this. Not in the.
I wasn't there.
Not in the school.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I just wasn't
mean,
there.
This list is very impressive. It's
Yeah.
very, very impressive.
It's
I
huge.
mean, there's.
So I have to ask, and excuse the ignorance, but in these other countries, are you still teaching the same primary 4 or 5 instruments, or do you bring in something that might be, specific to the culture?
They very well may, but our core program is still going to be
It's going to be the.
guitar based, and they still play the same songs that we play.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Boy, Bobby is lighting up the message board tonight. Love you, Bobby.
He just wants to let everybody know he's, even though he's a fool, it doesn't take away from his support.
From his support for the local. Yeah. Bobby
That's
is
true.
huge in the local scene.
That is 100%
Yes.
true. We live in Deep Ellum and frequent, and he's always out supporting.
Mhm.
And we're doesn't matter where we'll be in Fort Worth, he's there. We're
Yeah.
Dallas, wherever. So very cool, Bobby. Thanks for
Yeah,
supporting.
definitely. Thanks for tuning in, Bobby. We appreciate you. All right. Anything else, Kiva, Dalton? I know we're going to try to push some folks, to the website, and if we know of anybody who's interested or has kids looking for, something to do this summer, I think this is a great opportunity. I wish I'd have had something like this when I was little.
We've got lots of space, and summer camp is a great way to check out our program. It's basically a regular 4-month season without the private lessons, but with the rehearsals. And we do some group lessons in there, and we squeeze 4 months into 4.5 days. We take the kids sometimes that have never touched an instrument before, and by Friday, they come in on Monday. By Friday, they play a show.
When you're playing the song.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's amazing.
So cool. Well, hit us up if you ever start doing that sponsor a kid program. I'd personally
Love
like to be involved in that. However, we can do that if we stir up some folks on the Deep Dallas Radio site, and we can get some contributions to do that. I'd love to be a part of it.
Love
Very
it. That
cool.
would be amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to talk to us tonight. And
Thank you
thank
for
you
having
for all you guys are doing for the local music scene, and looking forward to seeing the more talent come out from you guys. So
They're coming.
Yep, we're working on them.
absolutely. Everybody that tuned in tonight, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us. This is Brad.
I'm Amy.
Mikey B.
And Peoples is on mute. All right. Y'all have a good night, folks. Thanks.